I came home from work, same old tired steps up the driveway, my tie loosened and my brain fried from another 12-hour grind. But the moment I pushed open that door, everything changed. My 12-year-old daughter Mia stood there, like a sentinel, wide eyes, clenched jaw. Something in her posture was not right. Hey, sweetheart, I smiled, brushing past the silence. Everything okay? She did not smile, did not even move. She stood between me and the staircase, like a little soldier guarding a war zone. I tilted my head, waiting, and then she broke. Do not go upstairs, she said, her voice flat, rehearsed. My brow furrowed. Why? She blinked a few times, swallowed hard, then said it like it was not the single sharpest blade ever thrust into my chest. Mom is with her true love. Do not disturb them. She is finally happy for the first time in 17 years. Just sleep on the sofa. I froze, my keys still dangling from my hand, briefcase slipping to the floor. What did you just say? I whispered. She said you would act like this, Mia muttered. Said you would make it all about you. My throat dried up. I felt every cell in my body turning to glass. I did not say a word, not to Mia, not to that house. I just turned around, stepped outside, and drove nowhere, just drove around the block, past the gas station, then back. I did not go inside again that night. I slept in the garage the next morning before the sun even got a chance to shine through the damn blinds. I lit the grill, but not for burgers. I threw every one of her dresses, handbags, and designer heels into that metal pit like firewood. The smoke rolled thick and black into the sky. It brought them both outside her in that stupid red robe she always wore when she wanted to act seductive, and him shirtless, barefoot, and groggy-eyed. Some random man, probably half my age, probably named Chad. I looked him dead in the eye and said, hope you've got a good lawyer, Chad. Then I turned to her. Pack your bags. She laughed. You're being dramatic again, Kyle. Dramatic? You do not laugh when your husband catches you playing house with another man in his own bedroom while your daughter lies to cover for you. But she did, because she was already gone, not just emotionally, not just physically gone. I did not give them another minute. I changed the locks that afternoon, and I did not cry, not then, not yet, because when betrayal hits that hard, that dirty, that low, the tears don't come first. Rage. As 5 months passed, not a word, not a call, not a message. I started healing, built a new morning routine, even got used to the silence at night. Then she came back, Mia, my little soldier, standing at my door in the rain with swollen eyes and a torn backpack. Daddy, she whispered, trembling, and behind her, her April, the woman who destroyed me. She stood there, smug, arms crossed, stomach bloated. Pregnant. Open the door, Kyle, she said. We need to talk. I almost slammed it in their faces. But Mia, she stepped forward. She's pregnant with your baby, she stammered. You're responsible for us. It's your fault. Mom cheated. You never paid attention to her needs. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This witch of a woman had brainwashed my daughter. I clenched my jaw. My pulse thundered. You're blaming me for your betrayal? I asked April. She smiled like the devil herself. I told you you stopped being a man a long time ago, Kyle, and that was it, the final nail. The end of any part of me that still believed she had a soul. They wanted me to sign the birth certificate. They thought I'd kneel, but they didn't know what I'd already done. I got revenge. And it started that day. I didn't slam the door in their faces, not because I was weak, not because I still loved her. I didn't even feel hate anymore. It was worse. I felt nothing, just a cold, surgical awareness of the moment, like I was outside my body watching this scene unfold. Mia looked up at me, her big brown eyes soaking wet, backpack hanging off her shoulder like an afterthought. She was caught in a war she didn't start, but April stood behind her like a queen without a throne, hand on her pregnant stomach, chin tilted, with that same smirk she always wore when she thought she'd won. You owe us this, she said. Don't forget, Kyle, you're the one who couldn't keep your wife satisfied. There it was again, that dagger twisted deeper. You think I owe you something? I asked, laughing bitterly. You cheated, you lied. You let our daughter become your damn messenger, and now you want me to step up like some fool? April stepped forward, voice like venom. The baby's yours. I got the dates. I know you don't want the embarrassment of raising a child you ignored into existence, but you're still the father legally. That word hung in the air like poison. I looked down at Mia. She looked so tired. I didn't know what she'd seen these past few months, what kind of garbage April had been feeding her. I want a test, I said flatly. DNA, full panel before I sign anything. April's smirk twitched. So now you don't trust me? I trusted you once. I said you brought another man into my bed, into my daughter's home. That trust is dead. April laughed. Typical, always playing the victim. You don't fool me, Kyle. You were never there, never. Enough I had to open the marriage just to feel like a woman again. Open the marriage, I snapped. You opened your legs, April. You never asked, you never talked. You decided what was convenient for you weaponized words and called it liberation. Mia flinched at the volume of my voice I lowered. It breathing hard. You are not staying here, I said, finally not. Tonight, not ever again. If the child is mine, we will talk. But until then, you are a stranger at my door. April's smirk vanished. She did not expect that. She thought her stomach would get her. And you turn away your own child, she hissed. I would turn away the woman who broke my child's heart and brainwashed her. I replied, do not come back without proof. And with that, I closed the door, not slammed. Closed with full painful finality. The next 2 weeks were hell. April sent text voicemails, even got her lawyer involved. They called me heartless. She even showed up at my workplace once, waddling through the lobby like she owned the building. My manager had to escort her out, but then came the test. The results were clear. 0% probability of paternity. I stared at the paper, heart racing, not with relief, with rage, cold, calculated rage. She had used my daughter, used her own damn pregnancy as a weapon, lied to the court, lied to me, lied to her own blood. I sent her the results in silence, attached the legal form revoking any paternal obligations. No response until 2 days later when I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just one line inside. You will regret turning your back on family. No name, no signature, just the final act of a woman who lost everything and decided to burn bridges on her way down. But I was not afraid, because my revenge had only just begun. You would think that once the DNA test came back and exposed the lie, it would be overdone. But April, she was not built like normal people. She did not know how to lose. Not quietly after that anonymous note, you will regret turning your back on family. I knew she was not going away. It was not a warning. It was a promise from a woman who could not stand the idea that her manipulation did not work on me anymore. And for a few days, I almost believed she would crawl back into whatever hole she and that shirtless idiot had slithered out of. But then I saw the graffiti. It started small. Chalk drawings on my driveway: cheater, liar, deadbeat, all things. She was thrown back at me like mud. Mia must have still been talking to her kids, crave their moms, no matter how broken. I did not stop her. I just watched as she came by on her bike, rode up to my mailbox, looked over her shoulder and slipped in another note. I waited until she left. The note said, she cries at night, she still loves you. You were her first. Bull. Lies again, always lies. April did not know how to love anyone but herself. But Mia was hurting, and she did not even know she was being used as a weapon again. That night I pulled every photo of April off the walls, every framed memory, every wedding picture, every family portrait where her smile looked real. I burned them, not in the fire pit, in the fireplace inside the house. I wanted her gone from inside, gone from the wood, the walls, the air. I kept only one photo: Mia, age 5, covered in chocolate frosting, holding a spatula and grinning with wild eyes. No April, just Mia, just the piece of this nightmare that still mattered. The next morning I found a social worker on my doorstep. April had filed a claim, said I was unfit, said Mia was unsafe with me, said I had violent outbursts, hallucinations, that I had burned her clothes and threatened her life. She even sent them a recording. It was from that morning when I had thrown her stuff in the grill, edited, chopped up, made to sound like I was screaming threats into the sky. The social worker, Mississippi Langford, a serious woman in a gray coat, looked me over like I was made of glass and explosives, but I was not worried because I had cameras. Now I showed her the footage, unedited, clear audio, her robe, her lover. The moment I told her to pack and get out, calm, controlled. Langford nodded, took notes, said she would update the report. But the damage was there, the seed, the idea that April was concerned, and that is when it hit me. She did not want me back. She did not care about the baby. She did not even want custody of Mia. She just wanted to ruin me. So I went to war. First step, lawyer. I hired a shark named Bennett who specialized in high conflict divorce and parental alienation. Second, I filed for full custody. Third, I exposed April. I sent the court not only the test results but screenshots of her texts, explicit ones, degrading ones, some from before the breakup. I found her lover's criminal record, DUIs, unpaid child support, even a bar fight that landed him a misdemeanor. I submitted it. All April showed up to court in a beige maternity dress, playing the fragile act with tears and shaking hands, but Bennett tore through her like wildfire. The judge did not smile once, did not need to. He ruled in my favor, full custody, pinning psychological evaluation. April screamed in the hallway, said I was destroying her life. I looked her in the eyes and said, you already did, that I am just cleaning up the ashes. April did not show up at my door after the court ruling. She did not call, did not write for a week. I thought maybe it was finally over, that I had won, but peace does not come that easily when you have lived with a woman like her. It was a Friday night. I was lying on the couch, letting the silence wrap around me like a blanket. Mia was asleep upstairs, finally resting without crying in her sleep. I had just started drifting off when my phone lit up. Unknown number. I ignored. It rang again. Same number. Then again I answered. Voice. Yeah, you ruined her life. The voice was male, angry, slurred. She is pregnant, you coward, and you are out here parading around like a hero. Click. I did not recognize the voice, but I knew who sent him. April was pulling strings again, this time through the guy she cheated on me with. He called again the next day, threatened to pay me a visit, so I did something I never wanted to do. I filed a restraining order, not just against her, against both of them. I was not about to let my daughter grow up in a war zone. Mia noticed the tension. Kids always do. She asked me one night, is mommy going to jail? I knelt beside her and said, no, sweetheart, mommy is not going to jail, but she cannot come around for a while because of the baby. She asked. I did not know how to answer. That baby had become the center of April's manipulation, the unborn shield she used to justify every twisted thing she did. But then came the biggest hit, a letter from her lawyer. April was suing me for emotional damages, claiming I had sabotaged her future, caused extreme stress during pregnancy, and publicly humiliated her, the woman who slept with another man in my bed, who lied to our daughter, who faked paternity for financial gain. She wanted a payout. My lawyer. Bennett laughed when he read it. This is desperation, Cal. She knows she is lost. She is just flailing now, but we will handle it. Still, it shook me because it meant she was not done. April was not fighting for love or for her child. She was fighting for control. A week later, she posted on Facebook a long, dramatic post filled with lies. Said I abandoned her during pregnancy, that I manipulated the court, that I refused to acknowledge our love child. She even posted an ultrasound photo with my last name scribbled on it. The comments flooded in sympathy, rage, praise for her strength, and I realized something brutal. The truth does not matter to people who want to believe a lie, so I did not respond. I went dark, private profiles, locked down everything. I refused to play her game in public. Instead, I focused on Mia. I enrolled her in therapy, got her a dog, an old golden retriever named Duke, who followed her everywhere. We started rebuilding morning pancakes, evening walks, laughing again, and yet April's shadow still lurked until one morning when I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo. April passed out in a car, half-empty vodka bottle in her lap. The caption read, your ex is going to kill someone, thought you should know. I called the cops, immediately reported her location, sent the photo. She was picked up for DUI, pregnant, drunk, alone, her boyfriend gone, vanished, probably the one who sent the photo. And just like that, her perfect little fantasy collapsed. The next day, I got a call from Child Services. They wanted to talk custody for the unborn child. Turns out April had listed me as the emergency contact at the hospital, the one she swore I had nothing to do with. She had made me the legal fallback. Why? Because she thought I would take pity on her and she really believed that after all of it I would catch her when she fell. But not this time. I had watched her burn everything, and now I was ready to turn the ashes into something that finally made sense. She thought I would save her, that I would walk into that hospital with open arms, cradle the baby that was not mine, and play family all over again, but go Stu. Not get second chances. And April, she was already dead to me when Child Protective Services called. They sounded confused, Mr. Bennett, the woman said, mistaking my last name for my lawyer's. April listed you as the emergency guardian in case of maternal complications or incapacity. I corrected her calmly. It is Kyle Anderson, and I never agreed to that. In fact, I have legal documentation confirming I am not the father of that child." There was silence on the other end. "Would you be willing to come in anyway for the child's sake?" She asked that line, "for the child's sake." It hit me hard, not because of April, because I knew what it meant to be an innocent caught in someone else's hell. I told them I would come in, but not for April, for the baby. At the hospital, I stood outside her room watching through the tiny window. In the door, April lay, their tubes in her arm, hair a mess, eyes closed, breathing like a storm just passed through her chest, and next to her in the clear bassinet, a tiny baby girl, still quiet, alone. I did not go in. Instead, I sat with the nurse and asked the hard questions. Is she healthy? She is premature but stable. Who is the father? We do not know. April had not named anyone, not even Chad or whatever alias her lover used before. He vanished like smoke. She listed me, the man she betrayed, framed and humiliated, the same man she tried to destroy in court, because deep down she knew no one else would be there. I signed a paper refusing guardianship, made it official. I left that baby in the system knowing she would be safer there than under April's grip. I do not regret that, not for a second, because while I could not save April and could not raise a child that was not mine, I could protect my own daughter from the wreckage her mother left behind. That night I got a knock on the door. Mia, she stood there trembling, holding Duke's leash in one hand and a note in the other. "I found this in Mom's stuff," she said, voice cracking. The note was scribbled in messy handwriting, not April's. "You were just the backup," she told me. "You would always take her back. You did not. So now she is broken. Your fault, bro. No name, no number, just another layer of cowardice." I looked at Mia and pulled her into a hug. "You did nothing wrong," I whispered. "None of this is your fault." She sobbed into my shirt, finally letting it all out. Weeks of silence, months of confusion, the betrayal of a mother who used her as a pawn. I tucked her into bed that night and sat in the living room until the sun started creeping in, and I realized something important. I was not angry anymore, not like before. April did not deserve my hatred. She deserved my silence, my complete erasure of her from our lives. So I started over. I repainted the walls throughout, every last item she left behind, bought new furniture, changed the scent of the house. No more lavender candles or her fancy French soaps, just the smell of coffee, fresh paint, and a man reclaiming his space. Mia and I began our own traditions: Tuesday movie night, Sunday hikes. She started smiling again. I started breathing easier, and every once in a while, when the silence got too loud, I reminded myself, you can survive anything, even betrayal, even love turned to poison. You just have to stop feeding the ghosts. April was not done. Even with the baby out of the hospital and placed with a temporary guardian, even with the court siding against her, even with the lies exposed, she still had one more act to play. She tried to drag me down with her again. This time it came in the form of a podcast. Yeah, you heard me, a podcast. She found some trashy true story host and gave them an exclusive interview. They titled the episode "Abandoned While Pregnant: One Woman's Fight Against a Narcissist Husband." I did not listen to it at first. I refused to feed the fire, but when my coworker asked me if it was true that I ran away when my wife was 9 months pregnant and suicidal, I realized I had to. So I sat in my car parked in the lot behind my gym and hit play. Her voice, I had not heard it in weeks, and it slithered through the speakers like venom. She weaved a perfect fantasy, claimed I locked her out of the house, left her penniless, that I bribed the court to get full custody. She said I was emotionally abusive, obsessed with control, and get this, intimidated by her success as a woman. Success, her job was spending my money and sneaking around like a teenager. And then came the dagger. I still love him, she whispered at the end, and if he showed up today and said he wanted to fix it, I would say yes. I laughed out loud, but not the kind of laugh that makes you feel better, the kind that bubbles up from rage, disbelief, and pure exhaustion. April was not broken. She was addicted to chaos, to control, to attention. She did not want me back. She wanted the version of me that would keep her life afloat while she did whatever the hell she wanted. But I was done being the life raft. I met with my lawyer that week, told him I wanted a gag order, anything to stop her from weaponizing her lies in public. It was not easy. You can not gag someone for being a manipulative liar unless it causes provable damage. So I started gathering proof, screenshots, messages, her podcast, comments where she encouraged people to find out where he lives. Then came the email from Chad. Yep, the prince of this fairy tale finally resurfaced. He wrote me this long, pathetic message. Bro, I did not know she was still married. She said you were done years ago. I did not even know the kid was not mine until after. She, oh dead, wait, what I read? That part again. She owed the hospital, never told me. CPS did not mention it, but Chad's message was clear. She had taken too many pills. She lived, obviously, but that was the real reason she disappeared from court hearings and social media for a few weeks, not because she was scared, because she was broken in a way I could not fix and never caused. I stared at the screen, numb. She had almost taken her own life and part of me. Maybe the part that still remembered our wedding day, or how she used to laugh before she turned into something else. Felt pity, but I also remembered how she used that same fragility to destroy others. That overdose, it was not just pain, it was performance. One more act in her endless play for sympathy. I did not respond to Chad. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, proof she had lied about her mental state in court. He called me 10 minutes later and said, "We have got her, it is over." But I did not celebrate, because this story was not about winning anymore. It was about surviving something no man should ever have to survive, loving a woman who would burn the world just to feel the heat on her skin. And I was finally walking out of the fire. There is a kind of silence that follows a storm, not peaceful, not soothing, just empty, like something used to live in your bones, and now it is gone. That is where I was after forwarding Chad's email to my lawyer. The court moved fast, real fast. April's lies had already been on thin ice, but now they cracked wide open. The overdose, the false podcast claims, the way she used her daughter and a fake paternity to try to rope me into fathering a child that was not mine. The judge was not impressed. A permanent restraining order was placed. April lost all custody privileges. Mia was mine fully, officially. I should have felt victory. Instead, I felt a strange kind of grief, because it was not just April I lost. It was the illusion, the years, the effort, the way I used to believe in things like forever and unconditional. April did not come to the final hearing. Her lawyer showed up alone and looked like he wanted to crawl into a drain pipe and disappear. He handed over paperwork, mumbled a few things about client instability, and left before the hearing was even done. Cowards always flee when the masks fall. When I walked out of that courtroom, Mia was waiting for me on the bench near the hallway. She did not ask how it went. She did not need to. She just stood up, hugged me tight, and whispered, "Can we never talk about her again?" And just like that, I knew she was done too. That night, I opened the last box, the one I kept buried at the back of my closet. It was filled with things I wasn't ready to throw away: old anniversary cards, pictures of vacations, a necklace I bought her one Christmas that she never wore. I threw it all in the fireplace, watched the past go up in flames, and I swear I heard the last door inside me slam shut. But of course, April had one more twist, because that's who she was. The day after the court ruling, I got a certified letter in the mail, no return address. Inside was a photo. April sitting on a bench at a bus stop. She looked thinner, older. Her hair was tied back, and she wasn't wearing makeup. On her lap was the baby, and scrolled on the back of the photo in black marker, "I told her you were her father. She'll come looking for you. No name, no address, nothing else, just that sentence." It was like being stabbed in a spot I just managed to bandage. I held the photo in my hand for a long time, and then I set it on the table, sat down, and stared at the wall, because I knew what this was. April wasn't trying to guilt me. She wasn't trying to make me feel like a father to a child that wasn't mine. She was planting a landmine, one that might go off years from now, when a little girl grows up and wants answers, when she finds that photo in a drawer or a box or a forgotten folder, and she shows up at my door asking why I wasn't there that night. I wrote a letter to her, to the baby, who might one day come looking. I told the truth about the lies, about April, about the DNA, and I sealed it in an envelope, marked it for a future I hope never comes. Because I don't hate the child, I hate the game her mother played with her, just like she played with all of us. But games end, and April's, it's over. I never heard from April again. Not a text, not a voicemail, no more letters, no more surprise appearances, no podcast updates, nothing. She disappeared the same way she lived, dramatically, chaotically, without apology. I didn't go looking for her. I didn't ask what happened to the baby. I knew the system had taken over, that she'd be placed somewhere safer than April could ever provide. I'd done everything I legally could to keep myself and my daughter out of that toxic orbit forever. And that was enough. Our house became a different place. I painted the walls a deep navy blue, changed the flooring, got rid of every single item that reminded me of her: curtains, dishes, furniture, even the damn light fixtures she once picked out like she was Martha Stewart with a vendetta. The walls were mine now, the rooms were mine, the silence was mine, and so was Mia. She bloomed without her mother around. Her smile came easier. She laughed again. She started reading more, sketching little comics, playing piano like she used to before. The house was filled with tension. One night after dinner, she looked up at me and asked, "Do you think I'll end up like her?" My heart cracked a little. "No," I said, "because you've seen the truth, and because you're stronger than her." She nodded slowly, but I knew that scar would stay with her. Some scars never fade, they just stop bleeding. As for me, I wasn't the same man who once believed love could fix everything. I didn't believe in fairy tales anymore. I believed in boundaries and healing and truth, and that truth was this: April was a virus in my life, a beautiful lie wrapped in red lipstick and high heels. She never loved me, only what I gave her: the stability, the image, the comfort of a man she could control. But control is fragile, and I took mine back. It wasn't easy. I had nights where the silence felt like a punishment, where I questioned everything, where I wondered if maybe I had been too distant, too cold, too focused on providing instead of connecting. But then I remember no mistake justifies betrayal, no flaw earns deception, and love never looks like war. A few months later, I started going to a support group for men who'd gone through something similar. You'd be surprised how many had stories that echoed mine, different names, same scars: cheating, manipulation, children caught in the crossfire. We weren't victims, we were survivors. And with every story, I found a little more of myself, not the old me, the naive, blind optimist, but the man I was meant to be, one who knew what love should not feel like. Eventually, I sold the house. Too many memories. Even after the paint and renovations, I bought a smaller place, something just for Mia and me, a fresh start. And on our first night in the new home, as we unpacked boxes and played music on the speaker, Mia danced in the living room with Duke barking at her heels. I watched them, heart full, and thought, this is peace. No screaming, no lies, no manipulation, just real, raw, quiet peace. If someone asked me what I learned from it all, I'd say this: never beg someone to treat you right. Pay attention to your gut, it knows before your heart does. And if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Because sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away before you're burned down to ash, and never look